Good evening and welcome. My name is Dr. Bill Law, and I'm the president of St. Petersburg College. And it is an honor and a privilege this evening to welcome all of you to our Seminole campus. Many of you here in person in our wonderful Digitorium, and many of you online or at the other end of the TV digital cable stations. So we are delighted to have our county commission use our forum here to work through their public issues, your public issues, our public issues, in a manner that allows all of us to participate and to share. So when we can open our doors at the college and have people join us for something other than our great classroom experience, it's always a privilege. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our panel here tonight. Thank you.
Dr. Law, thank you so much, and we are glad to be here at St. Petersburg College. Beautiful facility. We've been here before in this wonderful auditorium. What a great college we have here right in our midst. I'm Al Rochelle from Bay News 9, and tonight I'm going to be the moderator for tonight's event, sort of the referee, and I have a stack of questions and everything that we're going to get to, and we're just going to have a great time as we talk about the budget here from the Digitorium at St. Petersburg College. Again, thank you for joining us. Tonight, our purpose is pretty simple. We're coming to you from this campus to answer your questions and others, and to gather and discuss your input as county leaders develop the upcoming 2014 budget. How was the county's budget developed? How do those decisions affect you and me? What kind of community do we want to create and sustain, and how can you get involved? We're going to discuss all those topics and more tonight in this one short hour, so please, it's going to be a great hour, so stay with us. But first, we'd like to welcome our viewers. Thank you so much. You may be watching us on Pinellas County Connection Television, St. Petersburg College Television, or on WSPF TV, that's the city of St. Petersburg, or on the eTownHall website. Whatever way that you're joining us, we're glad that you're getting involved. Pinellas County also wants you to be informed so you can weigh in on very important decisions that these men and women have to make on your behalf. We also want to welcome our live audience. Thank you so much for joining here. Give yourselves a round of applause if you would. Now, we'd also like to welcome some of our student participants that I got to meet and some of the volunteers that are here earlier tonight as we had our discussion. Students from the Public Policy and Administration program here at St. Pete College are participating in this real-life government in action exercise in partnership developed by St. Petersburg College and the Pinellas County government. Now, if we could have Seminole Campus Provost Dr. Jim Oliver stand, please. Jim, how you doing? And instructor in charge, Jeff Krohn-Schnobel. And all the students, please stand to be recognized if you would. Thank you. And we'd also like to recognize the high school students that are here with the Youth Advisory Council, a group that learns about county government through participation in other activities. If you would applaud for those people as well. You want to stand up, students? Great, along the back wall. Also, another group, we'd like to welcome the Pinellas County Citizens University. I met those folks as well. And finally, we want to recognize our Pinellas County volunteers here tonight. You know, volunteers are so important for any organization. Every day, hundreds of you folks volunteer, and you help the county deliver the best possible service without costing the money. But of course, your hearts are always in it, so my hearts are always with volunteers. All right. Our audience has just attended what we call an open house. They had the opportunity to talk with these folks one-on-one. It's not an election year, is it? But they still shook hands, and everybody was very cordial. They talked about the fiscal challenges facing the county, how the county is balancing and improving, how services are delivered to you, and about what kind of community we all want now and very important in the future. Now, scattered out in front of me, I have literally dozens and dozens of cards. Our audience has lots of comments and questions here as well, and we want to make sure we hear from you. So if you've got a question and you would like to share your thoughts or join us by phone, here's a little discussion. What happened is we called 65,000 people and said, would you like to listen in on the town hall meeting? They can do that right now. And then if you're at home right now and you're participating, all you have to do is press 0. Now, don't worry, your voice isn't going to have to be on the air. You are going to be able to give your comment to one of our writers who's going to type it down, and then they'll run it up to me, and we'll get a chance to ask the commission here. Call the number on your screen, or you can go to the eTownHall website and log in at any time during our broadcast. You can also use Twitter and tweet. I still can't get used to that. And the hashtag #Pinellas eTown in your tweet. Now, as for the folks that are here in our audience, if you would like to tweet, you can do that. But, you know, I'd like to keep you focused up here and so you can hear the answers. Sometimes we get so involved in tweeting, we don't hear the answers that are given. But if you'd like to have a comment, there are people around here. If you will raise your hand, they'll come to you and you can get a comment. All right. We'd like to get started now by introducing our panel. But first, I'd like to let everybody know that, unfortunately, Commissioner Karen Williams-Seal, who was here just a short time ago, had another commitment, so she was able to shake hands with some folks, but she's not going to be able to be there. But we have a number of other people who will be happy to speak in her stead. These are your county commissioners. We begin on the far right of the stage as Commission Chairman Ken Welch. Ken, good to see you. You were just on our program on political connections just last week, and the reviews were rave reviews.
Thank you so much, Al. Thank you for moderating tonight, and thank everyone for attending this eTownHall. Looking forward to it.
Great. Our next commissioner is Janet Long. Janet, one of the new commissioners here. You were also on our program. Like, we had a Pinellas County Commission thing going here for a while, didn't we?
Yes, so it was lots of fun.
Lots of fun. Great. Next to her is John Maroney. John, always good to see you.
Nice to see you too, Al, and thanks to the audience for coming, especially the students. And I'm going to make a prediction tonight that one of the students who are here tonight will be up here in a few years. And I think they know who they are.
Okay. Susan Latvala, our next commissioner. Susan, how you doing?
Great, Al. Good to see you, and thanks for being with us tonight, and thanks to all the audience for participation.
And Susan and I go way back to our days on the school board. When she was on the school board, I was covering the school board, my wife on the PTA, so anytime you're involved with Pinellas County Schools, you get around, don't you?
I do.
Commissioner Charlie Justice, who made the big transition from Tallahassee back to the neck of the woods that he loves the most.
Great to be here, Al, and it's great to be home every night.
It does, yeah. I mean, really, especially with what's going on in Tallahassee these days. Okay, next to her, Norm Roach. Norm, good to see you.
Thank you, Al, and thank you, Dr. Law and St. Pete College. This is what's most encouraging is that every year we've done this so far, the crowd gets larger and larger and larger, and I think that's the best part about it. So I'm looking forward to it. I appreciate the opportunity, and we're ready to go.
All right, and Bob LaSala, you're the guy that, you know, does all the numbers. And boy, he was just showing me some numbers that are actually quite frightening in terms of the economy, huh?
Well, it's a slow recovery. It's a slow crawl out of a very deep hole that we've been.
And these men and women are working very hard to make that crawl a little more livable for all of us. Now, a bit of background on this the whole evening. Now, in November, Pinellas County's Office of Management and Budget begins development of what they call a 10-year budget forecast. Now, that's a tool that they use to make policy decisions. The forecast includes an evaluation of the national economic outlook. Hey, if you're not making it, they can't make it, and the county and the city can't spend it either. They look at the state's economy, the county's economy, the economy of the county as well, which in a county that is pretty much built up makes it even more challenging. It also analyzes and reports the projected status of each funding source that the county receives revenue from you and me. Now, if you'd like to review the current budget forecast for yourself, I actually went and looked at this document. Very, very, very helpful. You can go to the eTownHall website now at pinellascounty.org/eTownHall. Forget the slash stuff. Just go to the website and start looking, and you'll find it. What they have that is very helpful is a citizen's guide to the budget link below the video window. If you go to that, you'll find that very helpful. All right, let's get going with our questions, and we'll rock and roll for the next hour. Fourth consecutive year, Chairman, that you've been using this budget process. Tell me about why a budget forecast is so important.
Well, the budget forecast is really an invaluable tool for the county commission, and I don't think it's hyperbole to say it really has spawned an evolution in county government. We have really reshaped the definition of county government based on that forecast. In this era of economic uncertainty, you couldn't just budget for the next year or the next 2 years. This forecast shows us over a 10-year period a combination of all the headwinds, all the economic factors that we will have to face. And what it led to, the county commission working with our constitutional officers and Bob and his staff, was a realization that we would not only have to cut the budget significantly, but in fact change the definition of Pinellas County government in terms of cutting some services, redefining what our core services are. And because of that forecast, because we have a holistic long-term view, we are in a position now where we're not out of the storm yet. But this year, for example, we have established a budget stabilization fund that we've used for the last couple of years, but it'll help us to absorb most of a $12 million deficit for this year. But it sets the path forward, so we've got a sustainable set of services moving forward, and we're not making decisions today that might affect the commission in 5 or 10 years.
And you use the word sustainability, which sometimes gets tied up in some political jargon one way or another when it talks about, ecology and those kind of things. But sustainability is what you just mentioned, which means we're not going to make decisions today in 2014 coming up that are going to haunt us in 2024.
Absolutely, and sustainability in either definition is fine with me. But sustainability in terms of our fiscal policies is one of our guiding principles, that we can invest even in services that folks want. I mean, if they want more code enforcement, more animal control, we can't just add those services without seeing how we're going to sustain that over the long term.
Okay, Bob, you were just showing me some charts, and it's really important to know where we are in the economy right now. Give us a little bit about what the current economic climate is right now, and the funding sources that you know that you're going to have, and the ones that you may not know you have in the future.
Well, this recession, this great recession, has been a sea change, and it's made us adapt and rethink the distribution of revenue and how those revenues are going to be used in terms of expenditures and service levels. The economy's recovery is much slower than it has been over the last 30 years. And so we need to adjust and adapt to that, anticipate that slow growth, anticipate the limitations that brings, and help the board make these difficult choices much more clear, so that they're in a position to find the right balance in terms of service and levels of service.
But the bottom line is there's not a lot of extra money to go around, is there?
Oh, absolutely not. We've maximized every revenue, and we've made major reductions in expenditure. That's been measured in great efficiency and economy and productivity improvement in order to sustain the services that are in place today.
Okay, let me read this. This is one of the comments that came in from another Bob, and this isn't you, because I asked you ahead of time to make sure that this wasn't something that was plugged in here. It says, the elasticity of sales tax and others, that's why government entities try and build reserves to help them get through the downturns without major job cuts. It's far more economical to keep a person or service in place for a short period than to constantly cut and reinstate them. The training, launch, and other ancillary costs are very expensive. Elasticity of sales tax, what's that?
Well, what that person is pointing to is that as the economy expands and contracts, the revenue that we get from sales tax expands and contracts. And by projecting out into the future based on the growth that we're seeing today, we can better anticipate how to staff, at what levels, and this person is exactly right.
Right.
He sees the wisdom that this board has insisted on in terms of taking a longer view.
Okay, we got a bunch of questions that came in from blogs that people actually sent these in early to us. This one came in on Monday, April the 8th at 4:54. And what I'm going to do, commissioners, is I'm going to ask the question, and one of you just raise your hand and take it. And we won't have every commissioner make a comment on every one of these, otherwise we'll be here till 9 o'clock tonight. And isn't it the end of American Idol tonight? I got that wrong. Okay, here we go. The question comes from Monday, April the 8th at 4:54. It was from Bill. Here's the question. Is Head Start or Early Head Start in the county budget forecast? Who'd like to answer that?
That's an easy one.
Okay.
Head Start and Early Head Start 2 are both federally funded programs, and the county does not fund them at all. Actually, a small portion of their funding comes from the Juvenile Welfare Board, but not in our budget.
Okay, that was good. Man, we may get through a lot of questions tonight. Here's another one from the blog. This came in on Tuesday, April the 9th. The person just chose to be called guest. How can you possibly justify a stormwater tax in this horrible economic environment?
I'll take a shot at it. Thank you. It's a fascinating challenge, and I think we've all talked about that recently, is that the decline in the revenue imbalanced with the needs of the community. There's the one who voted against sort of going forward on it, but it wasn't necessarily an anti-tax thing. We have a real problem with our stormwater, but we also have 10 municipalities doing it and the county doing it. So it's a compound problem. We've got an aging system. We've got a built-out community. We've got a lot of concrete, and that water has to go somewhere. We've been doing, county's been investing around $10 million a year for some time to keep pace with it. But again, the infrastructure is aging. EPA's thrown in some higher standards that are going to be very costly to catch up with and try and keep track of. So it's one of those, maybe the better terms, the necessary evils. It's one of those situations where you've got to look at it. You've got to make certain that we have the empirical data, that we have a very good plan that goes forward, and a compound plan and a complex plan that addresses the compound and complexity of the issue, because it's multifaceted. It isn't just water from A to B, it's water and what is being carried by it. So I'm looking forward to it. Staff has been working on it to prepare a pretty lengthy and a detailed presentation to the board, and I'm looking forward to see what we've got to make a decision on.
I want to come to that and then revisit that in just a second. We just want to remind you that if you're on your phone, you're blogging, you're twittering, remember, if you've got a question, you're joining us by phone, you're going to press 0. That doesn't mean your voice is going to show up in the air, but if you've got a comment, please get us into it, and get these comments in early, folks, because I can tell you what always happens with these programs is everybody waits until the last minute, and then we get to 7:58. We still have 40 questions to go. Let me follow up on the whole thing with stormwater, just as we stand back, because people, I think when they hear stormwater, they say, well, that means my street's going to flood because we don't have enough stormwater capacity. Is that what stormwater is?
Well, there's two parts to it. There is part of flood control, but in Pinellas County, we have hundreds of these small ponds in the neighborhoods that the water sometimes goes through that. So we're talking about the quality of the water that goes into those ponds, but also the quality of water that ends up in the Gulf, which is a huge concern for all of us.
Right, and that's where the government gets involved with that. All right, we have a question that came from the phone, and will there be more funding going to education? That's a phone question. Does the county actually provide money for education? What?
I'll just add in on it, only because we get this question often. We get some folks that come to the board meeting as well. Pinellas County School Board is a separate entity in Pinellas County. They're their own taxing authority. Neither this board has power or control over what they do with their budget, nor does the school board have power and control over here. It's an excellent question, but I want to make certain that the poster, I don't know if they give you a name, make certain that they get the question to the right body, and the right body is the school board. So Pinellas County has very limited. We have Early Learning Coalition. We have funding going in there for the early starts, K through 12 programs and daycare and things of that nature. But actually into the meats of education, that question is best answered by the school board.
Yeah, Ken?
And I agree with that. If I could just add on, though, we have developed a holistic approach to the problems that we face in this community. And education traditionally is more than just the time that child spends in school. It's what do they go home to after school? And what does that environment look like? Do they have internet access? Do they have a means to complete their homework? Do they have a safe environment? And so we are trying through this 25=1 initiative, and Commissioner Roach came up with that moniker, to work more closely with the school board and JWB and all stakeholders in the community to deal with these problems holistically, because just putting more money into say a certain program in a school is not going to solve the problems that we see specifically in some parts of the county that are tremendously impacted by poverty.
Right.
And from a taxpayer perspective, the dollars that we're paying in terms of recidivism, crime, bad health care outcomes, all need to be addressed in a holistic way, and that means every governmental entity, all the stakeholders, the faith-based community, neighborhoods, families, all working together. So going back to education, we don't directly fund it, but we have said as a commission we want to partner in a more effective way with everyone that's involved in education, be it JWB, the school district, or St. Pete College and University of South Florida.
You know, we know that in this country, the country's well over 200 years old. We have infrastructure problems. Bigger cities have had a lot bigger problems than we have. But here's a question that came from one of our phone listeners right now. Her name is Linda. She says, does the county have a renewal and replacement fund to keep up with infrastructure, particularly when infrastructure fails or needs to be repaired? Anybody?
Well, our main way of funding capital projects is the Penny for Pinellas.
Right.
And that has funded projects from parks to the 49th Street Bridge to the CJC. It is our main way of funding those kinds of projects. And we set aside, I don't know, 20% of that right off the top of the bat for courts and jails. Going into the next Penny for Pinellas, we may need to look at how we prioritize those projects. But that's our main way of funding capital projects.
One of the things this board has done is ask the legislative delegation to consider recommending to the full legislature that a portion of those dollars from the Penny for Pinellas be allocated for the operation and maintenance of those infrastructure improvements. So not just simply putting more bricks and mortar in the ground, but maintaining them as well.
Now, I know some people are concerned about Penny for Pinellas because they know that it provides a lot of services for us that maybe we wouldn't think we'd have. And of course, the biggest Penny for Pinellas project I can think of is the Pinellas Trail, which I use quite regularly and have crashed 3 times on it. Sorry, it's not the trail's fault. It was me. I was going too fast.
Al, this commission dedicates its gas tax revenue towards the maintenance of transportation and highway systems.
Okay.
So, but there's never enough money to do that as well as we would like. But it is a high priority and a concern that this board is going to be addressing as part of the financial forecast.
But do you think that taking some of the money from Penny for Pinellas, and what are you essentially trying to roll that into the general budget, or what's the mechanism for that?
Penny for Pinellas was a wonderful idea when it happened. It's still a good program, but I call it a fault, and I could be wrong, and maybe a word was, it allowed you to use those fundings to build the project, but didn't allow for the use of those funds to maintain the project.
Oh.
So that funding coming from the gas tax or the general fund to sort of continue to maintain those projects, it's really a combination of the two, really. And what the legislature or what we were looking at was being able to peel off whether it's a percentage or a quarter of a penny, whatever it is,
right,
and being allowed to utilize some of that fund to also maintain and service the projects we build with that money. It's quite a challenge, because if you don't do that, then you're going to have to see increases in property taxes or come up with gas tax increases and things of that nature to help maintain it. And you kind of touched on it earlier. We're at a built-out stage, but we have an aging infrastructure,
right,
that at the same time we need to start replacing and maintaining that infrastructure. We're coming off a crash and a slow recovery. So that's the many challenges that I'm sure, that's why we get the matching set of luggage under our eyes as a consolation prize. So
it's still carry-on luggage, though.
Yes.
I think so. All right. We have another question that came from Elizabeth, or from George, rather, and he said, is anything being done to stimulate local businesses to help with the unemployment situation? Anybody?
Well, I don't want to be the only one talking
Stimulate
about
local businesses to help with unemployment. Does the county have any responsibility as far as unemployment is concerned?
There are a number of ways you could look at that from an education perspective. We work closely. The Job Corps project was a joint venture between the county, the city, and the federal government. That's on the job training aspect of it. In terms of retention of services and attracting new jobs, the county does partner with cities and the state through various incentive programs. QTI is one example of that. I know we talked a little bit about the requirements of disclosure on that, but that is a program that does bring jobs, and the incentives don't happen until the jobs and the investment happens. And so those are ways that the county can partner with other entities to stimulate job growth and job training in terms of education.
Let's get another comment from another source here. It says cost savings to have one main police department and or one main fire department. Where do we stand on that? Consolidation of services. I know the sheriff, Bob Gualtieri, is out here in his organization. Maybe we should have him come up here and answer that question for you, but we'll let the commissioners do it because they're the elected officials here right now. Consolidation.
I'll take it any day.
I'll take a stab at that if Norm is okay. These two issues have been discussed in our county for over 30 years. And because we have the 24 municipalities and and county government, it's very difficult if they want to have their own police department. But I think the sheriff has done an admirable job of slowly but surely taking over some departments from the municipalities because, frankly, they just can't afford it anymore. So as it relates to the fire, that is something that we're hoping we're going to be able to move forward and make some systemic changes to keep it, again, to use the word sustainable, so we can protect everyone for the long term.
Okay,
And
go ahead.
If I could, Al, you have to balance the nuance of those cost savings that you can have by having larger pool, but also the respect that you have for the communities, to their identity and the history that they have. But the budget has forced, the cities are taking the leadership on this. The cities have partnering on services that they can save money on by working together on things. So the cities are taking the lead on consolidating some things.
Okay, and this kind of follows with this, and you know, I was wondering if we're going to get this question, because we just asked this question a lot on Political Connections because we got so much email about this. We know that the situation between the fire departments and Sunstar and the paramedics, where are we going with that? Because hasn't it been quite a number of years that we've been trying to figure out what is the most economically feasible? And there was a story about Pinellas Park maybe losing 19 firefighters because they had to respond to the High Point area. So what's going on with that?
Well, let me say that right now there is a study underway, probably, I don't know how many studies have happened.
Okay.
But when this Fitch study is complete, we are going to have to make a decision as a county commission, working with the cities and the fire districts, that will change the way service is delivered. And folks are going to have to be accepting of that change. And there are three options on the table. One is the IPS model, which would move more towards the ambulance, the private ambulance provider. One is a fire-based model that was brought forward by firefighters. And the third is a hybrid. But either one of those is going to have to be the one that brings the most sustainable EMS service to the county. But it will require a change in the way that service is delivered, and folks have to understand that. You talked about consolidation. We could save millions of dollars if we consolidated in this county, but when you go to a particular community and ask, do you want to give up the city of Kenneth, I'll use my name, Ken City on the side of that police car or that fire truck, you get a different answer. So it just depends on, are the people willing to accept a change in the way the service is delivered? In order for that EMS fund to move back into sustainability, that change is going to happen, so people need to be prepared for that.
And talk to the firefighters that they're saying, hey, we could provide the transport service. I had a little bike accident a number of years ago, being very careless, and the guy decided to try to run me over. And I had, before I even could get my wrecked bike off the road, I had 2 ambulances and 2 fire stations that had responded. Now, admittedly, when they probably heard my name and knew that I was a next-door neighbor, that might have brought them out a lot sooner. But this is a big question that people always have, is that don't we have enough firefighters that we could save a lot of money if they did the transporting, or even if the dispatch system was slightly changed, that when you know an accident isn't quite as serious, that you don't have to send so many vehicles there?
Transporting is much more than driving the ambulance from the accident scene to the hospital.
Okay.
And we've actually been doing some tours of the Sunstar Center to educate elected officials in the county about what actually goes on behind the scenes. But there has to be a certificate of need by every fire department that provides that service, not easily obtained. The medical record keeping has to be done, and the billing to Medicare and Medicaid and private insurance companies. Very difficult to do, and if it's not done accurately, it costs money. And we have a wonderful record, incredible record, of being able to bill and collect a high percentage of the money that is owed for the services. And it's just not as simple as letting the firemen drive the fire truck. I mean, drive the ambulance.
Okay, okay.
So,
It's a complex issue, and it's an important one, so it warrants spending the time to do that, to discuss it, because it's one of the biggest issues we're facing, and it is a tough challenge. It kind of is at the heart of that, or part of that sort of 25=1 theory. We have different economic realities today. We have what people say the new norm. We have a very different world today, and we have to look at things very differently. And that is that 25=1 concept, where we've got to look at some of these things where the 24 municipalities in the county can sit down openly at a table and say, how can we do this more efficiently together?
Okay.
As opposed to a separate one. It's a tough challenge, because if it's your loved one who's hurt, you want everybody, all hands on deck there. You'll take a helicopter, too, to bring it in if you want, because you want that help. But on your way to work and you see that, ambulance, firefighter, whatever, it's very natural to go, hey, what's going on with that? So it's a very important challenge that we're all going to be dealing with and facing with. I'm very much looking forward to the
And
results
just as a
the
point of
fish.
information, Hillsborough County has been doing it with their EMS for a number of years, with some success, they say.
Very different geography than what we have.
Okay, okay.
Very different.
Every large urban county has some form of fire-based transport, and this is going to be a debate that will unfold over the next few months. By the way, you take a lot of bike falls, Al. I don't know what the problem is.
Well, no, I wear a helmet all the time, though.
And so Commissioner Latvala and I have some different perspectives on that, but the bottom line is there will be a change, and folks need to understand that and be prepared for it.
But the important thing to remember is there won't be a change in the level of service.
Okay. Charlie, you had that mic awfully close.
No, I was just saying we could come back and do several hours just on this issue.
Okay. Just by the way, folks, again, if you're listening on the phone right now, one of the 65,000 people that are automatically called to be a part of a program, just press 0 at any time if you have a question. Again, your voice won't be on the air. I know a lot of you would like to have your voices on the air, but we will take the information and then they'll transmit it up to me here. Just very, very briefly, because we've used this phrase a couple of times, and I want to make sure the audience understands. 25 is 1. What's that mean?
That means, since you were drinking water, I'll define your phrase. It means the 24 cities and the county working together collaboratively.
Okay, let's go to...
Did that do it for you? You got it?
Yeah, that does it. Well,
That does it?
we don't have enough time to talk about that. I don't know. I thought it was a new Joe Madden phrase, you know?
Yeah.
25
hey.
strikes equals a win? I don't know. Okay, let's move on. John, this one's kind of for you. Does the county deduct union dues from paychecks and transfer funds to unions? That was from one of our bloggers.
No, we don't, except in the Sheriff's Department. There are union dues in the Sheriff's Department, but not in the regular county workers, no.
Okay, and as long as we're talking about money, Shirley B. from Clearwater says, will the county commissioners get raises this year?
Okay.
Do you know who Shirley B. is?
No, but I can answer that. And first of all, our salaries are set by a formula in Tallahassee.
Okay.
The legislature votes on what we get paid, and that's done by a formula, and it definitely takes in population into consideration. And as you know, the population of Pinellas County has gone down over the last few years. And actually, for the people that have been here for 7 years, like Commissioner Welch and I and Commissioner Latvala, there's been a decrease in pay by about $500. I think it's $499 exactly over the last 7 years. But also, when we first start cutting real strongly a few years ago when the recession really hit, we also, the commission, you didn't have to do it, but we did it. We voluntarily gave 3% of our salaries back to either to the county. I did that to the county. Some people did 3% back to charities. Okay. So we cut our own salary when all these other people were getting fired or laid off, or they were taking cuts too. So we felt that we needed to take some of the brunt too, and that's what we did. But the new people, obviously, they just came in, but we were doing that for a few years.
All right. Put them on the heat. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
That's up to them. Wasn't mandatory.
I know. My family and I tied 10%. Always.
Okay. Here's another, a couple from the phones. Would like to suggest is an untapped potential retirees who help mentor kids in single-family homes. Is that a good idea? Mentoring.
Absolutely, that's a great idea. And when we talked about the whole education issue, mentoring is a missing piece because so many of the kids who are underperforming in schools don't have a two-parent household, or they have a parent who can't tutor them for one reason or another. Mentors can help fill that gap. And I know that some of the cities actually incentivize mentoring with their employees. I think that's something we need to look at the county level. We've had some discussion about that in strategic planning. But mentoring is vitally important, and it's a low-cost option.
Yeah, and they've got a great program in Pinellas County Schools, because I do a program with Pinellas County called 5,000 Mentors, and it's a tremendous program. Boy, you know, folks, you want to change the world, change it one person at a time, and you'd be surprised what kind of impact you could have. All right, here's another one that came from a blog on this past Tuesday. What is the county doing to bring energy-efficient products and services to the residents, such as natural gas?
Anyone? Well, county doesn't control natural gas. I think there are two companies out there that offer natural gas, just to take that one right off the bat. out to some of the cities have their infrastructure in place. Obviously, there would be a major cost involved in the county doing an infrastructure project to provide it, but it doesn't prevent an individual from putting a tank in their house and plumbing their house for that.
Okay.
I think we should absolutely look at our buses, our county vehicles, our over-the-road trucks, all going towards an LP gas system. That's been talked about even across this nation, and I'm kind of perplexed as to why we haven't made that jump all across this nation. Quite frankly, that seems quite simple, but the county itself does our work in the county. In fact, we received about a $34,000 refund check from Progress Energy because of some of the efforts we've made within the county itself. To put in high-efficient light bulbs and things of that nature. And that work continues. Everybody should be doing that in their own home, of course, to save themselves some bucks. So I think that's a living program. We do it all the time. I think if we were flush with all kinds of money, we'd be, I'm sure, wanting to put down natural gas lines throughout the county. Perhaps when we're doing stormwater, it might be a good partnership program. But I think we look for every effort to do it. I'm always perplexed. We've got, I've mentioned it a few times, and we've got an area out there called Toy Town that I think is just screaming for a recycled manufacturing plant that would bring jobs here and help us recycle some of the trash and products we have to where we could produce these chairs we're sitting on. Should be made right here in Pinellas County by our own recycled plastic and bring jobs. But I think the county has done a good job with it and continues to do it, work hard at it.
Okay, next question. This one's came from our blog again. What is our county's position on expanding reclaimed water?
We've pretty much, all the reclaimed water that we produce is being put out to our citizens. It takes about 4 households to produce enough reclaimed for 1 household. So virtually all that is produced in the county's water system, and there are several cities and other entities that provide water, but in the county's water system, we are virtually putting almost every drop of it back out to our citizens.
Right, so it would make no sense to expand it if you can't
You
fill
can't
up the pipes
expand it
that
if
carry
you
the
don't, yes,
water.
if you can't meet the need.
Okay, there's another one that came to us, and I just want to address this because this is kind of with this whole stormwater. That seems to be the thing that everybody's talking about. I don't know why, one way or another. We are asking the county commissioners to help us clean out the area between the 3 large conduits flowing into our subdivision, the Weir Canal, and trash flowing into that area. You want to keep this junk from going into the intercoastal waterway. Do we know what that is?
Yeah, I'll try to answer that. There's areas, and I'm pretty sure that's in Terra K that person's talking about. We've been hearing a lot about that area. The weirs have to be replaced in some of these unincorporated areas, but these are private developments. And this is something that we have to look at when we talk about stormwater. You know, this is going to be a big issue along with the EMS because some of the county's waste is getting into these people's private lakes and ponds and things like that. And we've been working on this, God, for 10 years, easy, you know, of trying to help them. Some of these areas have to be dredged, and dredging is extremely expensive. And, you know, we have found out over the years that some of that is our fault, and we've admitted that, but the majority of it is a lot from runoff, as Commissioner Latvala said, you know, with algae and things like that, and that helps, you know, make that water dirty, and and the quality of life is being affected, you know, to those folks. So we're going to be looking at that, and we used to have a plan called Adopt a Pond years ago when there was money in the budget for that. And I think that, I don't know if that exact plan will come back that way, but we definitely have to do something to help these folks that are our citizens, our taxpayers, and even though it is a private pond, we did contribute somewhat and something to that dirty pond.
Okay, let me get back to this because here's 2 more questions about stormwater and Penny for Pinellas. Now, I'll read this what it says. Can Penny for Pinellas be used to defray expenses to be covered under the proposed stormwater tax? And along those lines, it also says, why isn't state sales tax supposed to be used for cleaning up county infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera? Are those tied together at all?
I don't believe so, no. Especially the penny for Pinellas is only for structure. It's infrastructure. It's not for taking care of it, maintenance and things like that.
Okay, so it couldn't be used to reduce the stormwater tax then?
No.
And here's another question. Hasn't spending penny for Pinellas on multi-million-dollar city halls and hurricane-resistant maintenance buildings in small municipalities been cost-effective? How could you better spend penny for Pinellas, and how could it be changed?
Well, cities get a portion of each penny. And they ask their citizens, I would think, that they would ask their citizens what they would like to see their portion of the penny being spent on. And they're the ones that make the decision, not us, on what they're doing with their money. And if they're building a city hall or a new gym or whatever they're doing, that we have nothing to do with that.
Yeah, and that speaks to the compound and the complexity of these issues. There's more to it than just that. The penny for Pinellas is connected, and by law, the cities get their portion and what have you. And we disperse that to them, obviously, through the sales receipts, but we don't control that. We can't reach into their city and go, okay, you have to spend it this way and spend it that way. And we run into a lot of discussions with that. And that goes back to hate to bring it full circle, no, I'd love to bring it full circle, but that goes back to the 25=1. Because a lot of major projects, you've seen our roads, how you fall on your bike on them all the time. But we go through.
I'm going to be so sorry I shared that story.
But they change their names as we go, and they go through it, and they go from a city to the county to the city. So you look at these major projects, and if with the 25, that sort of 25=1 concept, if we all got together and realized we've got this major road project, and instead of the county funding it all through their portion, well, why don't we take some of that collective fortune that they're all getting together and do this project together, do it more effectively and efficiently. And some of that work's been done now. That we just need to expand on that idea when we look at those projects. And penny for Pinellas pennies, I would highly recommend, to your point earlier, to all citizens, go to the county's website, pinellascounty.org /budget, and get in and take a very good look at, and the administrators and his staff has put an excellent document out there that is our infrastructure budget with the penny for Pinellas from 2013 to 20. Don't cut my mic. 2013 to 2022.
All right, John.
Play the music like the awards. I would recommend everybody take a good look at it, because that shows you how we're allocating those dollars over the next 10 years.
Okay, John.
It's great being here on the Norm Road Show. What I wanted to say, well, and tweet and all that other stuff. Well, what I wanted to say is that with the cities, one thing that we did work with the cities for the new penny, we did increase their portion that compared to the other pennies, and we did have all their agreement in building our Justice Center on 49th Street. We did ask them out of their portion that $225 million for that Justice Center was going to be the county and the 24. But other than that, we do not ask them what they're doing with their money. That's up to their people in their own communities and municipalities to say.
Charlie, you're one of the newer members of the council. Let me ask you this question and be as specific as possible. Our county is, as we say, built out as much as possible, except for maybe 5 feet in my backyard, which is along the bay. What is your vision for Pinellas County? Number one, that our growth is going to be restricted because we are so big. Number two, if you don't have growth, you don't have additional revenue. And number three, that even though the housing market is better, it hasn't corrected itself. Given all of those things, what's your vision for the county? Just surviving?
Well, no, I think that, and I think there's been a lot of thought by our staff in planning strategically of how we are going to do our new development. We don't have that swath of land. But there's formulas, there's ways that we can look at pockets of growth or land for development, whether it's redevelopment or there still are pockets, believe it or not, in Pinellas County that are available. My vision for our county, for our community, is exactly what it was when I grew up here. It was somewhere that you'd want to grow up, you'd want to work, you want to raise your family, you'd want to retire. So it's got to provide those basic fundamentals of a good community, safe neighborhoods, a place where we cultivate these new entrepreneurs that we have coming through our universities and our system, but also that we don't take for granted the entrepreneurs and the businessmen that we have here that fuel our industry, for example, like tourism, that saw 20,000 new jobs last year, $28.7 million in bed tax collections. So we cultivate and we stimulate the economy that we have, but continue to look at new ways of how we can bring new economy here, too.
Susan, you were going to say something?
Yes. My vision is inclusive of a more transit-oriented future development. As the old housing areas are torn down and redeveloped, it'll be more high-density Hopefully, rapid transit, mass transit will be used to get people from one place to another, reducing our need to build more roads, which we don't have the land to do. But thinking about transit and how our citizens are going to get from one place to the next includes where they live, where they work, and where they need to go. So all those are will be taken into consideration as the redevelopment takes place.
This one is for Janet, another new member of the council. The strategic planning sessions, where does the input come for that? And what's the correlation between strategic planning and the quality of life, let's say 5 to 10 years down the line? Because I think some people don't think, I'll give you an example. In St. Petersburg, when you joke about and say, well, St. Petersburg just got so lucky that all of a sudden those restaurants were built, and then you'll hear Rick Baker say, yeah, that's 15 years of luck that made all of that happen. Same thing with the county, strategic planning. How does that work?
I think it's a necessary process to go through in order to define what our values and our priorities are, because then that helps us better define where we're going to put our money. And so if you're a leader in a community, you're expected to have some degree of judgment and vision so that you can look and try to determine what you want your county to be. And I couldn't agree with Commissioner Latvala more, because if you're a big business or a big corporation and you're trying to make a choice about whether or not to come and invest in Pinellas County or go to Charlotte, for example, well, why would you want to come to Pinellas? We have no way to move our people around. Wouldn't it be lovely if you come from a foreign country and you land in Tampa, if you could get on a little rapid transit or people mover or some methodology of moving out to the beaches where you want to ultimately end up? It's very difficult for people who come here from other places in the country or the nation, because they're used to being able to hop on a little train or a subway or a bus system that really will take you where you want to go, and effectively, and in a time frame that doesn't take you 3 or 4 hours to get there.
Ken, I asked this when we had political connections, because this was a good point about talking about mass transit. For those of you that don't remember, back in the early 70s, Pinellas County residents had a chance to tax themselves for about $150 million, which would have built a tram all the way from Fort DeSoto to Tarpon Springs. They turned it down. Now you're going back to the county again. Many, many years later, a lot has happened, a lot of headaches, even trying to get across the bridges anymore. What makes you think on this transportation initiative that the voters are going to feel any different about it than they did 30 years ago?
Well, I think there are a number of different reasons. Number one, we've been planning this for about 2 years now. And you did also ask me about the Hillsborough initiative that failed.
Yeah.
We had 2 Hillsborough folks, one from the MPO and one from Hart, I believe, on our planning committee to help us learn from their experience. I think one of the main differences is, in terms of the rail part of it, we actually have a map. Hillsborough did not have a map.
Right.
We've learned from the Pinellas 3 times now that if you have a list of projects and folks can actually see what they're going to get from that investment, they're much more likely to support it. But calling this a rail plan, as it's been called, is a mistake, because this is a transportation plan for our county. The first thing folks will see within the first year is improved bus service from North County to South County. And it's also an economic development tool, as Commissioner Latvala stated. We have to grow as a county. If we don't grow, we fall behind other counties which are growing, like Pasco, Hillsborough, Manatee. The impact on Bayfront Medical Center's trauma center is one example of when we're not growing and our neighbors are. Around those 16 stations on the proposed corridor is where you can target that smart growth that Commissioner Latvala talked about. And the initial estimates are some 3,000 jobs a year coming from that development around those stations. So I think this plan has a lot to offer. It also includes eliminating the PSTA property tax that exists now. And most transit agencies around the county don't fund their bus system based on a property tax. They fund it based on a sales tax. And tourists are going to pick up 30% of that if it's approved. So I think there's a lot of reasons for folks to support this. And over the next year and a half, we're going to talk about it. But it is not just about rail. It's about transportation, economic development, and the future of our community. I don't agree with Grover Norquist much. I don't know. But I agree with him.
Grover's shorter, by
when
the
he
way.
came down to the RNC and said, you cannot get around Tampa Bay
Right.
without having a car. And folks need to understand it's our competitive stature versus other parts of the country, and we're going to lose out in the long term if we don't correct that.
Right, and just a reminder, we've only got a couple minutes left in this program. Good time if you're still listening to us on the phone, you got a question, all you got to do is press 0. We'll take that question and try to get it in. And I'll apologize right now, we're getting flooded with a lot of questions, so if we don't get them all answered, sorry. Please go to the county's website, a lot of great information there. Bob, you've been sitting here very, very patiently. Okay, and I know that, when it comes to the numbers, they are so important for the commission in making decisions. You went through a methodology change, and I don't want to bore anybody by that, but it really means that you are looking at things in a different way. And why is that important for what the county is doing financially?
Well, we have to maximize every dollar that the taxpayers give us and make sure that we're as efficient, effective, economical, and productive as we can be.
Does the squeaky wheel always get the grease in the county?
Well, we try to run a smooth operation that doesn't make much noise. Okay.
So there isn't a whole lot of squeaking going on. Okay, let's talk another thing about cost efficiencies. In these days, everybody is trying to squeeze the most they can out of every dollar. What kind of cost savings have been implemented in the county so far?
Dramatic energy efficiency programs have been put in place. Consolidation of county space. The utilization of fuel efficiency applications in our fleet and our equipment. Greater savings at the jail complex through reuse of water and more efficient use of water by the Sheriff's Corrections Division, among other things. Our technological applications have helped us save money through our voice over internet telephone system. That's saved us over $750,000. And the use of energy reduction in the medical examiner's facility has saved us $50,000. That sounds like a small amount of money, but you start adding those things up, and we've saved tens of millions of dollars through those kinds of efficiencies.
I just had a question. There's this whisper between my ear that somebody asked, what about raises for county employees?
Well, I don't know what the answer to that is at this point, but we have to recommend to the county commission that we're able to retain the talent we need to do the job and attract the talent we will need in the future so that we're competitive within the Tampa Bay region and marketplace to hire and keep the very best and the brightest in support of the citizens' initiatives and programs.
Now, I think we partially answered this, but I'm going to answer it again because somebody called it on the phone. They said, this is from Robert, thank you, Robert, wants to know why we don't use more natural gas to fuel our vehicles.
We are, in fact, looking at that. The City of St. Pete, PSTA, and the county are discussing what the infrastructure requirements would be for a natural gas farm, I don't know if that's the right word, to fuel vehicles. 4 commissioners here sit on PSTA. Are we missing one? Who's the 4th one? Oh, Commissioner Long. Sit on PSTA, and PSTA has made the decision a couple of years ago, I think, to go to all hybrid vehicles for our new vehicles. So we are purchasing fuel-efficient vehicles right now, but in addition to that, we're looking at the natural gas option.
The conversion costs of existing vehicles is substantial, and we have to be sure that the reduced cost of natural gas will exceed those. The payback from the reduced cost of natural gas will exceed the expense of making the conversion over the life of that vehicle. Plus, the filling stations have to be accessible, and the cost of establishing those is substantial.
Okay, and I have to ask this question because I got to get it in because somebody wrote it in here and we didn't know it was going to be brought up. Baseball and the Rays. Who wants to talk about that for about 45 seconds? Short and sweet. Where are we at, Susan?
My personal opinion is I want the Rays to stay in our region. They're a great asset to our region. I prefer that they stay in Pinellas County, but if they're not viable here, then I want them in the region. And they have a lease, they have a contract, and they're playing ball. When they are ready to make a decision and move forward, I think we need to be at the table talking to them. They'll be coming to us for money from the tourist development tax.
Right.
That's a big discussion. It's a big discussion.
Now, yeah, Ken, go ahead and answer this because you did a
I agree with Commissioner Latvala, but folks are lining up for that 4 cent of bed tax, whether it be Dunedin Blue Jays, Olympic BMX, the Clearwater Aquarium. So that discussion with the Rays needs to move forward because we've got some planning to do from a TDC perspective and a county commission perspective.
Okay, another question came to us on the phone. Shirley wants to know, will you stay with the same trash provider that we have now, and will price be the same?
Did she say where she lives?
I'm not sure. The person did not say where they were from, did not give an area. Is that the county's responsibility at all? I mean,
We only have one area that trash is provided, and that's Lellman.
okay, so that
And
must be the
we have a
question from that.
contract for that area. I don't know the length of the contract. Do you, Bob? Yeah, so.
Okay.
At the end of the contract, we would look at it again, but for the time being, that would be where we stay.
Let's talk about, I'm trying to go through all these questions, make sure we get the big ones, and not what my shoe size is. It's size 11, okay? What a question. What are some of the board's options to balance the budget in the short term? Because you talked about having a $12 million shortfall. Bob, I'll ask you that.
Well, we have a fund that the board set up to help us fill that gap on a short-term basis. We continue to look for economies and efficiencies in how we do business to reduce that gap between available dollars and the cost of doing business. And we look at maximizing the collection of revenue from the various sources that we have. And we'll also look at the possibility of increasing revenue as against the trade-off of reducing services.
Okay. Want to get a question about volunteers. We talked about the volunteers that are here. How important are they to Pinellas County, and how does somebody get involved with being a volunteer? What kind of skills do you have to be? Do you have a minimum age, a maximum age? Charlie.
To me, it is. There is no certain skill set because it is absolutely amazing to me. I've been getting briefings on all the departments as a new commissioner, and all the volunteers that we have, not just what you might think at a stand at the parks or something like that, but we've got volunteers in budget, we've got volunteers in our building inspections. I mean, it is absolutely amazing to me that people are willing to give of their time to their government to provide those services. So they go to the Pinellas County website, they can learn how to sign up, but they do a tremendous job for us.
And we have to have a question about sidewalks. Why are we building so many sidewalks, and what about all those rails that we have to put on them when they're near the water? Where is that money coming from, and are we required to build those things? You knew that had to come up sometimes. Anybody?
Some of them are required. Yeah, ADA issues are put into there, but that goes back to that sort of penny discussion where some of it's Pinellas County, some of it's the cities, and I'm not sure why we wouldn't want sidewalks. I certainly want my children walking on sidewalks as opposed to a road. So that's part of our community. I mean, sidewalks are part of it. So it comes out a penny for Pinellas, obviously, or some other areas depending on what the project may be. But that's one of those shared projects.
And let me just ask this because I don't know if this relates to this. Lou said, is the money for penny for Pinellas out of money now?
It's not out, but it was significantly reduced. We reduced several projects, except for the part for courts and jails, by about 25%. So we've gone through a process where we've eliminated projects, delayed projects, because of the impact. It's based on sales tax, and due to the recession, we have fewer funds than we anticipated.
Let's see. Oh, yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry, John.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, because this hasn't been brought up here in the last hour, but also we every day we worry about what's going to happen from the federal government or the state sending down an unfunded mandate. I know a lot of the people in the audience that come to these things they're familiar with an unfunded mandate, and what that is that the federal government or the state is telling us to do something and they're not funding it, and then we have to fund it. And if we don't fund it, there's penalties. So it's, whether Tallahassee's in session and we're worried about what happens there until the last day when the budget gets passed, or what's happening in Washington, because a lot of that stuff is being funneled down to local government, and then it's on us.
And Ken, I'm going to give you the last chance to say something. Do you think you're getting the kind of quality feedback that you need from citizens? Because let's face it, anybody who's in an elected position, you're there because you want to be. Sometimes you scratch your head and say, why am I here? Are you getting the kind of quality feedback that you think that you're hearing from all of the county and not just the disgruntled people that tend to show up a lot and have a lot to complain about?
We get good feedback. We could use more feedback. Just as comparison, we had 63 people at a meeting yesterday about a dock, and we get fewer people in that for a $1.7 billion budget. So we do need folks to give us their input. We've had that over the last few years as we've gone out into the community, but if you care about a service, if you see a service that you think you need to enhance, or even if there's a way we can do things more efficiently, let us know. We've got several ways for you to contact the county and give us your input, so we encourage folks to get involved.
2 seconds.
Not only those 63 people, but if you go to a FAST meeting, there's over 5,000 people that have an input into this county commission, and that's from people from the entire county, from Tarpon and Gulfport.
Yeah, great idea. Commissioners, thank you so much. You've been really helpful tonight. We want to thank you in the audience for coming tonight. Give yourself a round of applause, and also for our commissioners that showed up. We also want to thank St. Petersburg College, the president, Dr. Bill Law, who was with us, Seminole Campus Provost, Dr. Jim Oliver, and his staff, for partnering with us to bring you this event. And many thanks also to the City of St. Petersburg and WSPF-TV for simulcasting tonight's event. Thank you for my bosses for letting me be here. And we, of course, appreciate you for joining us. We want to remind you, more opportunities for you to participate in the county's budget process. It's never too late. You can attend one of the upcoming commission meetings at the courthouse in downtown Clearwater, or watch the meetings live on PCC TV or on the web. Also visit PinellasCounty.org and click on the public meetings link on the right-hand side of the page for schedule of future meetings, or again to watch meetings live. Again, if you'd like more information about the county's budget development process, visit Citizens Guide to the Budget website at PinellasCounty.org/budget. Have we said enough? Thank you so much, and here's to a healthy and prosperous life in Pinellas County.